I want you to picture something for just a second.
Okay, I'm ready.
Imagine a Havanese puppy arriving at your home for the very first time. You're looking at these impossibly tiny paws, this soft, kind of tousled little coat, and bright, dark eyes, just taking in a completely new world.
Oh yeah, it's such an incredible image.
Right. And the puppy follows someone across the living room, and then a sudden clatter from the kitchen makes it pause. It glances back for reassurance, and then, after a beat, bravely steps forward anyway.
Yeah, and the immediate human reaction in that room is just almost universal. Everyone is instantly charmed.
Totally.
Someone immediately wants to scoop it up. Someone else is already cooing and, calling it the baby. It is almost biologically impossible not to react that way to a creature so small and expressive.
We are so hardwired to want to nurture them.
Exactly.
But that exact moment, like that instinct to immediately scoop the puppy up, is where our deep dive today really begins.
It's a huge turning point.
It really is.
Yeah.
So welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I've got our resident expert here to help break this all down.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here for this one.
We are unpacking sources dedicated to the crucial first weeks and months of a Havanese puppy's life. Our mission here is to shortcut the learning curve for you. We want to bypass the absolute avalanche of information overload out there and just extract the vital insights about how to raise this specific breed.
Which is so needed because the central tension here is a really brilliant paradox.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guiding philosophy for this breed boils down to this. Closeness and affection are the natural gifts of the Havanese. They will give that to you automatically.
Right.
But confidence. Confidence is the gift the owner must deliberately give back.
Okay, let's unpack this because going from the theoretical idea of, giving the gift of confidence to the practical reality of walking through your front door with a new puppy is a massive leap.
Oh, massive.
Let's tackle the party favor instinct first. It's that overwhelming urge to hold this tiny puppy constantly and pass it around to everyone who visits in those first few days.
The urge is totally understandable. I mean, they're adorable.
Yeah.
But resisting it is your first major test as an owner.
Why is it so bad, though?
Well, the primary objective of those first few days isn't socialization or showing off. It's establishing a calm, predictable environment.
Okay.
You have to set up a really rigid feeding and toileting schedule right away. You engage in very gentle, grounded bonding.
Grounded meaning literally on the ground.
Literally on the floor, yes. By doing this, you are teaching this animal that its new world is structurally safe. When a puppy is passed from person to person, their stress hormones actually spike.
Oh, wow. Because they're not in control.
Exactly, because they have zero control over their physical environment.
I have to push back on this a little bit, though. Let's look at the physical reality of a Havanese. We are talking about a remarkably small animal, maybe, 3 or 4 pounds at 8 weeks old?
Yeah, very tiny.
Isn't a puppy this tiny inherently fragile? Like, if a house is busy with people walking around, things being moved, doesn't carrying them actually keep them safe from the madness happening on the floor?
It seems logical, right?
Okay.
But it relies on a completely flawed definition of safety. True safety for a toy breed isn't about removing them from the ground. It's about managing the ground itself.
Managing the ground.
Yeah, if you carry them everywhere, you aren't puppy-proofing, you're just avoiding the work. Real safety means physically blocking access to stairs.
Right.
It means preventing them from jumping off furniture. Think about the physics here. Jumping off a normal couch for a 3-pound puppy is the equivalent of a human jumping off a 1-story roof.
Jeez. A 1-story roof.
Yeah. The kinetic energy on their fragile developing growth plates can easily fracture a leg.
Okay, so we really have to engineer the environment, like putting down non-slip rugs so their developing joints aren't sliding out from under them on hardwood floors.
Absolutely. And implementing a genuine hyper-awareness of where you step. It also means rethinking their gear.
Like leashes and stuff.
Exactly. A collar on a tiny puppy is a massive risk. Toy breeds have very delicate tracheal rings.
Windpipe.
Right. The cartilage supporting their windpipe is C-shaped and incredibly fragile. If they pull against a collar or you tug it, those rings can actually flatten, causing severe respiratory issues.
So no collars for walking.
No, you have to use a properly sized harness to distribute that force across their chest. Plus, you need to rigorously scan the floor for, Drop socks, electrical wires, toxic houseplants.
Because if you manage the environment, they can walk on their own without you constantly swooping in to intervene.
Exactly.
And that ground-level independence directly feeds into another major challenge. You've secured the physical environment, and now the puppy is walking around on its own 4 feet, which means it is inevitably going to pee on your floor.
Oh, definitely.
I want to look at what I call the small dog trap. Havanese are bred to be highly intelligent, observant companions, yet owners notoriously struggle with house training them. Why the disconnect?
It basically comes down to basic anatomy overriding brain power. High intelligence cannot override a tiny bladder.
Right, they just physically can't hold it.
No. A toy breed puppy's bladder is the size of a walnut, and their metabolic rate is incredibly fast. Plus, they haven't fully developed the sphincter muscle control that an adult dog has.
So it's not that they're being stubborn.
Not at all. Success here doesn't rely on the dog's IQ. It relies entirely on the owner's management. You need intense, unbroken supervision and rigid consistency around their waking, eating, and playing cycles.
And the timing of the reinforcement is everything, right? I think a lot of people make the mistake of post-accident punishment. Like, they find a puddle on the rug 10 minutes later, drag the dog over, and yell.
Which is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Because dogs don't associate consequence with past actions like we do.
They really don't. Classical conditioning links the immediate environment to the feeling. If you yell about a puddle they made 10 minutes ago, they don't connect the punishment to the act of peeing.
What do they connect it to?
They just learn that human beings are volatile and sometimes explode with scary energy for no apparent reason.
Wow, that's terrible.
It is. It breeds fear and actually makes potty training much harder because now they want to hide when they go to the bathroom. You have to reward the success the exact second they finish going outside.
There's also a necessary medical caveat here from the sources. If a puppy is having unusual, incredibly frequent accidents or seems to be straining or in pain, you can't out-train a urinary tract infection.
Oh, absolutely not.
You have to rule out physiological issues with a vet before assuming your dog is just being stubborn.
100%.
So thinking about this required mindset, the environmental management, the strict schedules, the complete lack of coddling, it feels like we need to treat them almost like a large working dog, like a German shepherd that just happens to be trapped in a tiny, adorable body.
It's a great analogy, but let's push it even a bit further. If you always pick up a toddler so they don't have to walk, their physical muscles atrophy. If you carry a Havanese past every scary vacuum cleaner or loud noise, their emotional muscles atrophy.
They just never learn to cope.
Right, they never learn how to process novelty. This lack of ground-level confidence leads directly to fear-based behaviors. A dog that doesn't know how to navigate the world on its own will constantly get underfoot, panic, and eventually resort to startle biting.
Just because they feel entirely defenseless.
Exactly.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Because that idea of building emotional muscles completely turns our standard idea of socialization upside down for this breed.
It really does.
The general assumption is that because the Havanese naturally loves people, socialization must be a breeze. You just let everyone pet them and you're good.
But socialization for a naturally friendly companion breed isn't about maximizing friendliness. It is about building calm confidence.
So not just letting them jump all over everyone.
No, you want curiosity, not frantic overexcitement or fear. Exposure means taking them to hear city noises, running the vacuum in the next room, letting them feel the vibrations of grooming tools, or watching other dogs from a safe distance.
So they just get used to it existing.
Right. The goal is neutrality. You want them to observe the world and realize, okay, that's loud, but it has nothing to do with me.
That makes a lot of sense.
But what's fascinating here is the most overlooked piece of socialization for this specific breed. Havanese were bred for centuries in Cuba, specifically to be lap dogs.
Oh, really? Literally just to sit on laps.
Literally.
Yeah.
Their genetic predisposition is extreme proximity to humans. Because they bond so intensely, they are uniquely vulnerable to severe separation anxiety.
Because you have to actively work against that.
Yes. So a massive part of their early socialization must actually be alone time training.
The methodology for this is so counterintuitive for humans, though. When we leave the house, our instinct is to give them a big hug, use a high-pitched voice, and say, "Mommy will be right back, be a good baby." We just want to reassure them.
Which is essentially telling the dog, this is a huge deal, something major is happening, get ready to panic.
We're basically hyping them up for anxiety.
Exactly. The most compassionate thing you can do is make your departures and arrivals remarkably boring, no dramatic goodbyes, and just as importantly, Absolutely no rushing back into the room at the very first whimper.
Right, because if you rush back, you've just taught them that whining is the remote control that brings you back into the room.
Yep.
Let's paint a picture of the wrong way to come home versus the right way. The wrong way is like jingling your keys loudly, bursting through the door using baby talk, and winding the dog up into a frantic, coiled spring of jumping and licking.
And the right way is walking in quietly, putting your groceries down, and completely ignoring the puppy until it realizes jumping isn't working and decides to sit or settle.
Just totally ignore them.
Totally ignore them. The moment they hit that calm baseline, you reward them with calm, gentle attention. You're teaching them that your coming and going is just a mundane, everyday occurrence.
I do want to flag a vital veterinary warning we came across regarding this. There's a difference between standard whining because they want attention and true clinical panic.
Yes, very important distinction.
If you see severe distress, like salivating heavily, destroying the crate, or a complete inability to settle during brief separations, that requires professional behavioral help. That level of neurological panic won't just resolve on its own.
And if a puppy is struggling with early separation distress, or if they're just dealing with standard boredom, their primary tool for expressing that internal state to you is barking.
Oh, they definitely can be vocal. Havanese bark from alertness, excitement, wanting attention, boredom, or fear. The real danger is that the communication patterns you establish in puppyhood tend to wire themselves into the dog's brain permanently.
Which makes practical management critical. The first rule is, do not reward every single bark with attention.
Even if it's negative attention.
Even negative attention.
Yeah.
Remember, in a dog's mind, eye contact or a scolding tone is still attention. Second, skip the yelling.
Because they just think you're barking with them.
Exactly. If the dog is barking at the window and you start shouting, "Quiet, stop it."
Mm-hmm.
Dogs don't speak English. They interpret volume and energy. To them, you are just barking right along with them. It validates their alarm and escalates their arousal.
Okay, so instead you manage the triggers. If they bark at the hallway noise, play white noise to muffle it, ensure they're getting enough mental stimulation so they aren't barking simply because their brain is starved for a job.
Right.
But I want to hypothesize for a second. If we are trying to teach a calm recovery when the doorbell rings, I assume we don't try to stop the initial bark. We wait for the bark to finish, and the split second they stop to breathe, we reward that silence. Is that the mechanism?
You're exactly on the right track, but there's a deeper neurological layer to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When a dog barks at a trigger, they enter a hyper-focus loop. By waiting for that breath and offering a high-value reward, you are breaking that neurological loop.
That makes so much sense.
Over time, you shape the behavior. So the doorbell rings, they give one alert bark, which is totally natural, but then they immediately look to you for a reward instead of spiraling into a barking frenzy.
You are rewarding the conscious choice to disengage from the trigger.
You're giving them a better job to do.
Now, handling a dog when it's highly aroused like that requires a lot of trust, and that trust is built through physical maintenance, proving that for a Havanese, the phrase beautiful but not low maintenance is a daily reality.
Oh, grooming is widely misunderstood.
Yeah.
People think it's just cosmetic for this breed. In reality, grooming is foundational behavioral training.
It's an exercise in trust, really. It's teaching a puppy to gently accept being handled in very vulnerable ways.
Exactly. Think about the mechanics of a mat in a dog's fur. It's not just a knot. As the hair tangles, it pulls tighter and tighter against the skin.
Ouch!
Yeah, every time the dog moves, the mat pulls, causing constant low-grade pain. If you wait until a mat forms to brush them, grooming becomes a painful, agonizing experience, and the dog will fight you.
Because they're anticipating the pain.
Right. You have to brush them daily, keeping sessions short and positive, so they learn to accept combing, paw handling, ear checks, and belly touches without fear.
Even if you go to a groomer.
Even if you use a professional groomer every 4 weeks, it absolutely does not replace the daily requirement of hands-on maintenance at home.
Well, the same principle applies to their teeth, which brings us to a major medical concern from the sources: the dental danger in small breeds. Their mouths are tiny, but they have the same 42 adult teeth that a large dog has.
Which means those teeth are incredibly crowded.
Just jammed in there.
Yeah, there's very little space between them, creating a perfect bridge for plaque to accumulate rapidly. Combine that with the fact that toy breeds often have less bone density in their jaws to begin with, And severe periodontal disease can actually lead to jaw fractures later in life.
Jaw fractures, just from bad teeth.
Just from bad teeth.
Wow, so toothbrushing and mouth handling have to start just as early as coat brushing. You want to routinely lift their lips, touch their gums, and reward them.
And owners also need to watch closely for retained baby teeth.
Right, I saw that. What is that exactly?
This happens when the adult tooth comes in, but the baby tooth doesn't fall out. It creates a trap for food and bacteria and usually requires surgical removal by a vet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, all of this, the grooming trust, the potty training consistency, the emotional independence, dictates how successfully this puppy integrates into the wider family ecosystem.
Because the environment must adapt to the puppy just as much as the puppy adapts to the environment.
Exactly.
Nowhere is that adaptation more crucial than with children. The rules for kids interacting with a toy breed must be absolute. Kids must sit on the floor to handle the puppy, period.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
There is no carrying the dog around the house, no squeezing, no dropping, no pulling hair or ears, and absolutely no waking a sleeping puppy.
Right, because a sleeping puppy is doing crucial brain development, and children just cannot be expected to naturally know how to be gentle. Calm petting must be explicitly taught and modeled.
Right, you can't just assume they know.
We have to drill this into our heads. Smaller does not mean more durable. It means the margin for error is drastically smaller.
Yeah.
A rough squeeze that a golden retriever might just shrug off could crack a Havanese puppy's rib.
That is terrifying. But that margin for error applies to other pets, too. A large, friendly dog playing completely normally can accidentally break a tiny puppy's leg just by pawing at them playfully.
That happens all the time. They require active supervision.
And cats need vertical escape routes so they don't feel cornered into swatting. And food bowls and high-value chew toys must be managed to prevent resource guarding.
Yes. And the final crucial piece of this household ecosystem is the veterinarian. Your vet is not just a doctor you see once a year for shots. They are a genuine partner in raising this dog.
The early visits set the trajectory for the dog's entire life.
They really do.
It's a comprehensive checklist they go through. They track weight, establish parasite protocols, and look for those retained baby teeth we mentioned. They observe the puppy's gait to check for patella luxation.
Right, the knee issue.
Yeah, a common issue in small dogs where the angle of their joints allows the kneecap to just slide out of its groove. They check for tear staining, which happens when porphyrins in the dog's tears react with oxygen and light to dye the fur red. They discuss the optimal timing for spaying or neutering based on growth plate development, and they ensure the dog is microchipped.
Because every single one of those checkups, every training session, every quiet moment of practicing independence, it is all building towards something bigger.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and synthesize all of this, I think it comes down to a few core do-nots.
Okay, let's hear it.
Do not confuse small with simple. Do not confuse affection with dependence. And absolutely do not confuse cuteness with a free pass on training and boundaries.
I couldn't agree more. Every single quiet moment of lone time practice you enforce. Every gentle daily grooming session, and every time you help them achieve a calm recovery from a barking trigger, you are building the architecture for the adult dog this puppy will become. The ultimate goal is to teach the puppy that the world is a fundamentally safe place, whether they are being held tightly in your arms or standing bravely on their own 4 feet.
That is beautifully put. Now, it's worth noting for you listening that the deep dive on this breed doesn't stop here. The next major frontier is puppy nutrition, which teases an entirely new and complex ongoing journey of care.
Oh, that's a whole other topic.
It really is. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. It builds directly off everything we've just discussed about confidence.
It's a really compelling thread to pull on.
We've talked extensively about the overwhelming human urge to scoop the puppy up when they face something new. I want you to consider how much our own psychological need to nurture, our deep-seated need to coddle, might actually be hindering the emotional resilience of the creatures we care for most.
Wow.
Are we carrying them through life's challenges for their comfort and safety? Or are we carrying them because it makes us feel essential, needed, and in control?
It is a profound question. And it frankly applies to a lot more than just how we raise our dogs.
It really does. Think back to that Havanese puppy for the beginning. Pausing at the strange kitchen sound. The absolute best thing we can do for them isn't to swoop in and save them from the noise, but to stand back, let them process it, and allow them to take that brave step forward entirely on their own. Just a quick reminder, this deep dive is for educational purposes only. If you're concerned about your dog's health or behavior, always consult your veterinarian.
Until next time.